All right. Review for Butch. No, you know what I got on my mind?
W.
W, yes. W period.
No, W.
Just W.
W.
W. I wish they had spelled it that way in the movie. W. D-U-B.
Well, you know, he's W. I mean, the thing is that would have been, you know, that came from a comic strip. That came from Doonesbury. Doonesbury was the one that spelled W, D-U-B-Y-A. So they just named the thing W.
Damn, this would have been cool to have been an animated movie, W, with George Bush. I mean, the
Doonesbury movie? Why not?
He can't be any more of a cartoon than he already is. But Oliver Stone directed this, of course, and I'm going into it thinking that this is going to be some really, really heavy material, if heavy as in heavy-handed, with a message. And it kind of was, in a way, for me.
Well, it certainly wasn't subtle. But then again, it's Oliver Stone, who's not really known for being very subtle.
No,
but
not at all.
It's also not a left-wing evisceration piece like a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah.
This isn't. There were so many of the big famous Bush things that are left out of here. There's no cocaine. There's no drunk driving accident. There's no evilness to his character at all. There's none of this, you know, nothing that you hear as the big reasons why people like really loathe him are not there. This is just a film about a guy who's not as smart as your average bear, who can't live up to his father and tries so desperately to live up and exceed his father's expectations because he was always the second less favored son.
You're right though, but there are those people who are going to have those problems, are the same people who have the same type of problem with the whole black and white good and evil thing that George Bush does. Like, it has to fit into one of these two categories.
You're either for us or against us.
I mean, George Bush, he's a frat boy douchebag. No, he's not. I don't think this movie portrays a good side to him at all. But it doesn't portray him as some emperor of evil, because he's not. He's just a dumbass. He's somebody who never grew up at all. He's a little boy.
He's a well-intentioned. This movie presents him as a well-intentioned guy that just fucks up everything he touches.
Yeah, I mean, some things are. Because, see, look, this is a movie, first of all. So I'm not taking this as the gospel of George Bush. I'm looking at it. I don't know what I mean, look, he's a dumbass. You're right. I mean, we don't need a movie to tell us that shit. But at the same time, I'm taking this as a movie to be fair. And I'm not looking at it as, okay, I'm going to walk in here and see a truthful narrative about George Bush. To me, this is fiction.
Except that it is not portrayed as fiction. It's not set as fiction. In fact, they've already set up a website complete with footnotes that you can go to and references every single thing in the movie.
Oh, yeah, no, to cover I mean, Jesus, George Bush is still alive. I mean, he's still in office right now. I mean, that's just to say how much...
Let's be fair. He's kind of still in office. He comes out every once in a while to go, hey, I'm still president, and then goes back in.
Well, he's still... I mean, look, he's still president. That just goes to show you how lousy a president he is, because any other president would have had Oliver Stone killed before this movie came out. George Bush is just like, fuck it, you got me, man. I can't do anything. But, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, these are actors. I'm sure there are key points in his life that they get right. I'm not saying this is George Bush after all. But looking at this, I'm watching it and I'm thinking, there are points where I think that they do take and look, I'm about as left as you can get. Well, not really. I'm middle of the road. But I really think that they try to take this left slant on things where they go out of their way just a little bit to make him look goofy. And the movie comes across as too goofy. And that's why I think this movie is more of a comedy than anything else. I didn't see it as tragic.
The truth is that he is goofy. That is the truth. But that's what's tragic about it. This is the leader of the free goddamn world, and he's a fucking blithering idiot. That's when you're confronted with the fact this guy's responsible for the deaths of so many people just through his own stubbornness and stupidity. Yeah, that's really depressing.
Well, I was just going to say, I think is also, I mean, they show you him being surrounded by people who are just pretty much power hungry. I mean, Dick Cheney, who was played really well by Richard Dreyfuss. I thought that was that's one of the things that made him a compassionate character, because obviously he's not man enough to do this job. Somebody is behind his ass manipulating things.
Right. No,
but
obviously.
Even then, I loved how nuanced Richard Dreyfuss's performance was, because he didn't seem like some power mad guy who was just going on a rampage. He was a guy who had been in power before, and they hadn't finished what he felt he should have done. And as a result, now he's trying to make up for it and trying to, do the right by his country. The problem is he's criminally insane, and his idea for what is good for the country, it has, that's what's great about this movie is the movie doesn't feel like at the end it needs to force down your throat where we are now, you know where we are now. It just shows you all the setup and leaves that heaviness weighing on you when you walk out. You said this is a comedy, but it's not really funny. The only time I was laughing was at the Condi Rice portrayal, which was just so goddamn funny. Like every time Condi Rice opens her mouth, I was in stitches.
That's part of the big problem I have with this film. And no, I don't think this is a good movie. I'll tell you why. First off, there was nothing this movie tells you that you don't already know. And it's a little annoying when it's portraying itself so much as truth, and some of the famous stuff, like the famous misunderestimate me, is stuff that we know he didn't say it when they show him saying it in the film. So it gives the whole thing sort of a sense that it's a lie. Inauthentic. The other thing is, the whole thing kind of, with so many famous faces playing so many well-known faces, it feels like a Saturday Night Live sketch that never gets to the joke.
Well, it's funny because they open up with all these people in his cabinet, and now all these weird prosthetic makeup effects going on. It looks like Dick Tracy.
I was expecting to see Phil Hartman.
It was weird. I'm looking at all this makeup. I mean, some people that they try to make look like people in real life, and some they don't. I mean, and I'll tell you, the people who do a great job in this is Tandy Newton, who looks the weirdest. I mean, she looks like a Muppet or something.
And she's incredible as Condi.
Yeah, no, she's great.
She transforms. In fact, that's the thing about this film, is everyone really transforms themselves. Tandy Newton is great. You look at Richard Dreyfuss and you're like, that's Richard Dreyfuss, but then you see him to where he's sitting there and holding his jaw the way Chaney does, in that awkward slanted way.
Yeah.
And these guys kind of melt into their characters.
But then you got somebody like James Cromwell, who doesn't look like George Bush Sr. or anything, and they just said, maybe he came on and they tried to get him to do that, and they just said, fuck it, it's James Cromwell.
He kept calling him Boyo, which he's done in like 3 or 4 other movies.
Boyo.
He always does that, and you're like, really? You let him take his other shit with him?
Did he say Boyo?
He kept calling him Boyo. I heard you do that all the time.
Did he say? I thought I heard boy. That's all
he said Boyo several times. I remember thinking about it and going, he's saying Boyo again? What the hell? I don't know. Anyway, my point is, though, it's weird seeing all these people, do this. I'm just like, you know what? I can't buy into this totally. Like I said, one, there's that whole inauthentic thing, and the other, like I said, it feels like a Saturday Night Live sketch. I'm waiting for every time somebody new comes in as a character for the studio audience to applaud and laugh.
But even then, you got to give it up to Josh Brolin, who gives the single most incredible performance of his life. When he's on screen, you forget it's Josh Brolin, and he actually becomes George Bush.
He nailed it as good as any actor has ever nailed any.
He should get a Best Actor nomination for this, definitely. And so far, he should win.
Aunt Richard can badmouth me all she wants. I've created successful small businesses. I run a Major League Baseball team. I'm in touch with real people in Texas. Work with them every day at the ballpark. Talk with the fans, hot dog vendors. Get to know what they think. Because truly, deep down inside, you know I'm a guy like you. A guy you can trust.
Fabulous, Doug. What it all comes down to is who Joe Voter wants to sit down and have a beer with. And guess who that is?
Just remember, make mine non-alcoholic.
Look, people can do imitations of George Bush, and it's all done for laughs, but he embodied the character of George Bush and made very subtle moments where you felt bad for the guy. There are other moments where you saw him trying to actually compete with his father, and you felt bad for him. I mean, there's a lot of drama here that we don't see in normal Bush impersonations.
And then, just as you feel bad for him, you go, oh, wait a second, this is that fucking asshole that's driven our country into the dirt.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I like about this movie. Like I said, they actually gave you a little bit of compassion. I mean, nobody gets left off the hook for what they did.
I know I brought a lot into this movie going with me, but didn't give me any compassion for George Bush at all. I just said, you know what? He's a dummy. He's leader of the free world. He knew what he's doing. The whole time, he's like, okay, I have my own agenda, and I don't really give a shit about what's best